There are many mysteries within Deltarune, whereas Descon, who is on the phone with Chris, is Spamton into Tina or Jevermore? Perhaps the most important question, however, besides the Spamton one, is WD Gaster'd. So today, I'll be talking about him for a bit. Sorry if script seems like it's sloppily put together, by the way. I actually have a lot of thoughts about him. And also, his lack of Deltarune news has kind of drove me into the rest of the fam insane, so enjoy my random thoughts on Gaster'd in the meantime. To start things off, I should probably explain who Gaster'd even is. Don't worry, this should be quick. Gaster'd is once a roller scientist in Undertale, who one day fell into his own creation. So he got shouted across time and space and doesn't exist in Undertale anymore. Despite that, he still managed to hack the official Undertale Twitter account and post a mysterious link, which takes you to the first chapter of a new game at the time, Deltarune. How do we know for sure it's Gaster'd? In entry 17, he said, "Very, very interesting." And hacker also saw on Undertale's Twitter account, "Very, very interesting." Look, we don't have a ton to go off of, okay? Also, we don't know for sure what he even looks like. However, a majority of fans agree that he looks like the guy that can be found once entering the Great Door, which only happens rarely, so I'll be saying this guy is Gaster'd too, until he gets his official design revealed in-game. If you're so confused, I suggest you watch the White Gaster'd Matters Deltarune series videos by Misty Sparkles, which will be linked in the description below. But to Dior, he's a Twitter user who's somewhat responsible for giving us Deltarune, so thanks for that, Gaster'd. So if a mysterious character like this guy, series started going crazy with him. Even before Deltarune was released, there are people speculating he was Sans and Papyrus' father because, well, he's white. Also, for one room, there's a huge gap of empty space between the Snow Papyrus and Snow Sans, along with Gaster'd's room and house seemingly being replaced by a painting. Sans also uses an attack for his battle literally called Gaster'd Blaster, so Sans murdered his father confirmed? Honestly, the idea of Gaster'd being Sans and Papyrus' parents is cool. I do have an idea for how it could pay off. The idea was used for a comic I made where Gaster'd is seemingly celebrating Christmas with his family again, only to realize it was all a dream, with him being unable to see his most likely kids again. Maybe Gaster'd gets a boss fight or something. But then at the end, once things are settled, Gaster'd asks the player if he could send Sans and Papyrus a letter for him. He also hints at them being related as well, so it won't feel too out of nowhere as to why this guy wants to send a letter to a random janitor so badly. As for what's inside the letter, it could be motivation, advice, maybe telling Sans to move his freaking sock out of his room. Either way then, I don't see Gaster'd being able to meet with Sans and Papyrus face to face again. I can't see Gaster'd still being trapped in wherever he is, forever, really. Okay, now for a crazy theory that will blow your mind. What if Gaster'd was green? Okay, so notice how it's seemingly a painting where Gaster'd's room could have been? Well, the painting was green because he was also green. This comic panel from official Undertale/Deltarune newsletter of Sans wearing a green hoodie, which confirms that not only did he kill Gaster'd, but took his strip as well. Okay, what did that do exactly? What would the green Gaster'd saying? Sans killing him would be something. If green Gaster'd's right, then cool. But I don't see how him being green would change anything. That's like if Star Wars Episode 5 came out and I was like, okay, but what if Darth Vader's true face was blue? Like that's your takeaway from that movie? Not Darth Vader being Luke's son.
Huh?
Not Darth Vader being Luke's father. No, his skin color. As a meme, 10 out of 10. Meme even got popular on the Russia's side of the community, with how simple the concept of green Gaster'd is. As a legit series, simpleness is its downfall. Also, Gaster'd is clearly Cerise, solo plus ratio plus your IP address. Now for the final series. Gaster'd is the creator, like the one who canonically made the prophecy for Deltarune. You may know about this website called Deltarune.com, unless this is your introduction to this series. Then in that case, I'm speechless you chose this film for gameplay or something, honestly. So anyways, before Deltarune was even released, the website is full of wingdings, which is Gaster'd's language. I mean WD, wingdings, Sans and Papyrus being named after fonts, yeah. I wonder if Sans is fluent in wingdings. Anyways, when translated, the text is part of Deltarune's prophecy, which also describes being foretold across time and space. Gaster'd is described as being spread across time and space. Also, when the player gets their ass beat by the 9 in Chapter 3 after your longer save, Gaster'd talks to you about how something's missing, with it being a Shadow Mantle. And when you have it, he encourages you to try again when you die to the Knight's final attack. He knows about Shadow Mantle, and the prophecy is foretold by time and space. Gaster'd create the prophecy. But wait, the only question is why he did in the first place. I mean, it doesn't sound like he could do much really since he, doesn't canonically exist, but regardless. This could also be the experiment Gaster was working on back when he was existing in Undertale. Maybe the reason why we, the player, got involved is because of Gaster. He did send us out with Deltarune's first chapter after all, and continues to attack Undertale/Deltarune's Twitter account every time a new chapter is about to drop. I very much love this idea, and if I had to pick one series to be canon, it would be this one. Flowery and Undertale is meant to represent the player, while in Deltarune, Gaster'd represents the creator. I don't really know where this could end up going, but it's got way more going for it than what if Gaster'd green? Either way then, it is very interesting to think about all the ideas of what he could turn out to be. I don't see Gaster'd in a phone role since he encouraged you to whoop the phone's ass in chapter 3. Also, for some reason, he doesn't seem like the Eggman, and doesn't let you get an achievement if you get the egg from the man. So, who knows what that's about. What I'm most curious about is the aftermath of Gaster'd. Like, Toby has been very careful to not acknowledge his existence, with Timmy being the only one of the Undertale Deltarune team to acknowledge him. Also, imagine how much merch he could have. Keyword being could, though, since Toby does approve on Darkner plushies, but never Lightner ones due to it not fitting his vision. I can't see us getting a Gaster'd plushie or even a figure of him, like we could have Chris and Susie's game versions. I think what will most likely happen is that he'll end up getting acknowledged in like a Deltarune art book, and that's pretty much it. Just like Firetoe's Azrael. Another thing I find interesting is how the reveal of Gaster'd could go. I think the best case scenario is keep him hidden for starters. I explained who Gaster'd was at the beginning because even casual Deltarune fans don't know who he is. It'll make all the goners who explained the lore to you kinda useless if it's just explained in an art game like 18 years later or so, without having to reset the game 500 times. So maybe once you get all the extra Shadow Crystals or something, then you can see him. Another thing I would love is to keep the mystery of him alive in one way or another. Like when you meet him, don't have him go, "Oh, hello, it is me, Windy Ariel Gaster'd, the guy you Deltarune fans have been speculating about for years, and also the father of Sense and Papyrus, and I'm also Serene, stop running Chris Miller was right." But instead, have the game never acknowledge him as Gaster'd. Instead, have the game simply call him, well, him. Gaster'd is shouted across space and time, so it could be possible that this isn't the real Gaster'd. Just simply a clone of a forgotten man. First song in the entirety of Deltarune I've heard of is called Another Hymn in all caps. So I really hope that's the case. Also, every time his name is spelled as player's name Undertale in Deltarune, the game crashes right when the last letter of his name is typed. So the narrator being able to say it would have confusing lore implications. Unless the narrator is him all along, but the like-fall uppercase letter says otherwise. Regardless of what Toby does for him though, let's just hope it's worth the wait. Thanks for listening to me talking about a guy who canonically doesn't exist. He is only one piece of Deltarune, and I do look forward to talking about the game in greater detail one day. Maybe when Chapter 5 releases, since it was announced to be coming out somewhere this year. Imagine how funny it would be if Chapter 5 was announced by the time I'm done editing this. Haha. No? Well, I'll try again tomorrow. Really surprised to think how many times I've said Gaster's name without a time. There are many mysteries within Deltarune, whereas Descon, who is on the phone with Chris, is Spamton into Tina or Jev or more? Perhaps the most important question, however, besides the Spamton one, is WD Gaster.
So today I'll be talking about him for a bit. Sorry if the script seems like it's sloppily put together, by the way. I actually have a lot of thoughts about him. And also his lack of Deltarune has kind of drove me into the rest of the fam insane, so to start things off, I should probably explain who Gaster'd is. Don't worry, this should be quick. Gaster'd is once a roller scientist in Undertale, who one day fell into his own creation.